Well, joining me now to speak more in depth about Peru's economy is Marta Ruiz. She's Principal Economic Advisor for the Andean region at the Inter-American Development Bank. Welcome, Marta.
Thank you very much.
So we did see a sharp slowdown early this year, but now we see that the central bank seems more optimistic, predicting strong growth for the fourth quarter. Would you say the economy is at a turning point?
That's correct, Michelle. We've seen Peru's economy slowing down after growing by almost 4% last year. The economy started to slow down early this year by a number of domestic events. But I think this slowdown is temporary. The economy is set to rebound by the end of this year, early next year.
Now, they also expect public investment and reconstruction spending will also see a rebound in 2018. What do you think is going to be driving that surge?
Well, there are a number of factors. First, as you know, the economy suffered from flooding this year that caused damage in infrastructure across the country. The government announced a stimulus package targeted exclusively at reconstruction efforts and infrastructure investment.
And what are the other areas that they're interested in getting more investment into?
Well, there are a number of projects that have been delayed or there have been problems in its implementation. One example is the gas pipeline in the southern country, line 2 of the metro. So there are a number of large infrastructure projects that are on the pipeline.
And let's look at some of the other bright spots, some of the real key drivers for Peru's economy. What are the real standouts for you?
Well, Peru is one of the best performing countries in the region. So even if the economy is set to slow growth this year at around 2.7%, it's still above the regional average in Latin America and the Caribbean, which is 1%. The country managed very well the commodity price boom, implementing sound reforms and policies. So it's set to face this slowdown very well and to achieve higher rates of growth next year.
And let's look at that cross-section between politics and the economy. What are some of the economic changes we've seen, PKK in his first year?
Correct.
What have been the real drivers there?
Peru's president had a challenging first year in office. I think the response to the flooding and to the other political events had been good, appropriate, announcing the stimulus package, and also is pushing some reforms that are necessary for the country to achieve higher rates of growth. For instance, reforms in the labor market, reforms in the framework of public investment, reforms to strengthen institutions.
Now, some people have been quite critical, saying it's not so much the reforms that are the problem, but the administration and how it's implementing them. What's your take on that?
Well, I think a country needs both better administration and good reforms. But what I think it's crucial to understand is that, especially with lower commodity prices and being Peru a commodity exporter, it is necessary for the country to undertake reforms to lift that growth potential. So reforms on the labor market to improve the business climate on the financial sector, those are necessary.
And in terms of the potential risks for Peru's growth, what is perhaps the most challenging, you think?
I think the most important risks are on the domestic front, and they stem from delays in implementing these infrastructure projects. There could also be further spillovers from the Odebrecht case, and delays in implementing those reforms. It is difficult to pass reforms in a Congress where the government doesn't have a majority.
So given what's happening in the region, we see what's happening in Venezuela, Brazil, given those additional pressures and what we're seeing in terms of the trajectory of Peru's economy, what's your outlook for them for the rest of this year and next year?
Well, I think the outlook for this year is for growth of around 2.7%. That's the latest projection of the IMF. But the economy is expected to bounce back with growth rates of 3.8 to 4% next year.
All right. Thank you so much for your insights, Marta Ruiz from the Inter-American Development Bank.